As we journey through life, the years accumulate, bringing with them the inevitable passage of time. With this passage, we naturally gain experiences, but does this experience automatically equate to wisdom? This is one of the greatest misconceptions in life. Just because we grow older doesn't mean we grow wiser. In fact, many people who grow older stop evolving mentally and emotionally. Instead of embracing the changes and learning from new experiences, they fall into patterns that prevent them from growing any further. They become stuck, and this stagnation can prevent them from truly enjoying their later years. Growing old isn't just about accumulating years, it's about accumulating growth. Wisdom doesn't automatically come with age. It's a journey, one that requires effort, adaptability, and openness to change. But how can we tell when someone, or even ourselves, has stopped evolving mentally? In this discussion, we'll explore 7 signs that show a person may have stopped growing intellectually and emotionally as they age. More importantly, we'll discuss how we can avoid falling into these traps, ensuring that we don't just grow old but continue to grow in wisdom as well. Let's delve into these signs together and explore how to avoid them. Because growing older doesn't mean we have to stop learning and evolving, it means we have more opportunities to continue on that journey. 1. Resistance to new knowledge. One of the first signs of a person whose mind has stopped growing is resistance to new knowledge. As we get older, it becomes easier to fall into the trap of thinking that we already know enough. We may believe that we've seen it all, learned it all, and experienced all that life has to offer. This mindset is dangerous because it prevents us from evolving. True wisdom is not static, it's a lifelong journey of discovery and learning. I'll share a personal story. I have an aunt who, in her late 60s, resisted learning how to use a smartphone. She didn't see the need for it and felt that it was a waste of time to bother with something that seemed too complicated. For years, she stuck to using a simple flip phone, unwilling to even attempt to learn about new technology. But one day, after some gentle encouragement from her children, she agreed to take a class on using smartphones. The transformation was incredible. Not only did she learn how to use it, but she also found herself connecting with her grandchildren and friends in ways she had never imagined. She started sending photos, joining social media, and participating in group video chats. It wasn't just about learning a new skill, it was about staying connected to the world, and it gave her a sense of joy and purpose. Lesson: it's never too late to learn something new. We must remain curious and open to knowledge, no matter our age. The refusal to learn keeps us stagnant, while the willingness to learn keeps our minds sharp and engaged. 2. Overconfidence in one's own opinions. The second sign of mental stagnation is overconfidence in our own opinions. As we age, it's natural to develop strong beliefs based on years of experience. But when these beliefs turn into rigid opinions, we may find ourselves becoming less open to new perspectives. We might start to think that because we've lived so long, our views are the only correct ones. This overconfidence can make us resistant to new ideas, to other people's insights, and even to constructive criticism. I think we've all encountered someone who, as they get older, insists that their way is the best way, regardless of what others think. I had a colleague who worked in the same industry for decades. He was extremely knowledgeable, but his overconfidence in his own opinions led him to dismiss any new ideas, even when they were backed by solid data. One day, during a meeting, a younger team member presented a new marketing strategy using digital platforms. At first, my colleague laughed it off, saying that it was just a passing trend. But as time went on, the new strategy delivered impressive results. My colleague had to humble himself and admit that perhaps his way wasn't the only way. Lesson: wisdom isn't about being right all the time, it's about being willing to admit that we can learn from others. No matter how experienced we are, we must remain open to new ideas and different viewpoints. Overconfidence can close our minds, but humility allows us to keep growing. 3. Complaining instead of adapting. A third sign that someone is no longer growing mentally is when they complain instead of adapting to new circumstances. Aging brings many challenges, whether physical, emotional, or technological, but the key to maintaining mental clarity is learning how to adapt. Wise people don't get stuck in complaints about how life used to be. Instead, they look for solutions and adapt to the present moment. They see challenges as opportunities for growth, not as obstacles to happiness. I had a family member who constantly complained about the changes in society, about how things were better back in the day. She often said that young people had no respect and that technology had ruined everything. But one day, after she retired, she joined a local seniors group that focused on learning new skills. She began to embrace new technology, joined social media, and even started a small online business. By accepting the changes in society and learning to adapt to them, she found a new sense of purpose and excitement in her life. Lesson: change is inevitable, but our response to it is up to us. Complaining keeps us stuck in the past, but adapting opens up new possibilities. It's not the changes in the world that limit us, it's how we choose to respond to them. 4. Lack of emotional control. As we age, another critical aspect of wisdom is emotional control. Many people, unfortunately, lose their ability to manage their emotions as they get older. They become more reactive, more irritable, and less patient. This emotional reactivity can lead to unnecessary conflict and distress, both for themselves and those around them. Emotional intelligence is essential for maintaining healthy relationships and finding peace in life. I've witnessed an older woman, someone who had been incredibly patient and kind all her life, become increasingly agitated over small things as she aged. Her temper flared quickly, and she often snapped at family members. After some reflection, she realized that her emotional outbursts were negatively affecting her relationships. She decided to start practicing mindfulness and meditation. Over time, she became much calmer, more patient, and able to approach difficult situations with understanding rather than frustration. Her emotional control not only improved her relationships but also contributed to her overall well-being. Lesson: emotional intelligence is just as important as intellectual intelligence. Being able to manage our emotions, even when we feel frustrated or upset, allows us to maintain better relationships and live a more peaceful life. 5. Inability to accept responsibility. One of the most significant signs of a person who has stopped growing is the inability to accept responsibility for their actions. Instead of owning up to their mistakes, some older individuals become defensive and blame others for their misfortunes. This lack of accountability prevents personal growth because it prevents us from learning from our mistakes. When we refuse to take responsibility, we miss out on the opportunity to improve and become wiser. I remember working with a man who, whenever things went wrong, would immediately blame others, his team, his colleagues, or even external circumstances. It wasn't until he experienced a personal setback that made him reflect on his actions that he began to take responsibility for his mistakes. This change in mindset was transformative. Not only did his work improve, but his personal relationships became healthier as well. Lesson: taking responsibility for our actions is essential for growth. It's easy to point fingers, but true wisdom comes from recognizing our mistakes, learning from them, and using them to become better individuals. 6. Holding on to grudges. Grudges are toxic to our well-being. They weigh us down emotionally and prevent us from finding peace. Holding on to past grievances, whether with family, friends, or colleagues, only hurts us in the long run. A wise person understands the power of forgiveness and the importance of letting go of resentment. Forgiveness isn't about excusing someone's bad behavior. It's about freeing yourself from the burden of anger. I know a woman who held a grudge against a former friend for years. Every time they crossed paths, she would bring up the past, reliving the pain of the betrayal. It wasn't until she realized that her bitterness was affecting her own happiness that she decided to forgive.